So when it comes to Macs, the MacBook Air has and always been one of the best value laptops that you can get on the market, period. Ever since the MacBook Air was announced in January 2008, it has been the premium ultrabook, and the entire laptop industry has followed suit with thin and light devices. But nobody has been able to match the battery life, performance, and design of the MacBook Air still to this day. Currently, we have the M1 MacBook Air, and the question of today's video is the M1 MacBook Air still worth it in 2022? And to answer that question, you need some context. Obviously, we need to know when the M1 MacBook Air was released, when the next one's going to be released, and is it worth it waiting for the next one, or should you buy the M1 MacBook Air right now? The M1 MacBook Air was announced last year, and it was Apple's first iteration when it comes to their in-house silicon. Basically, Apple has been able to create a chip from the ground up with the Mac ecosystem in mind and make it so power efficient that you can still get really good performance but get that best-in-class battery life as well. When you look at the M1 Pro and the M1 Max and the MacBook Pros, those are more power-hungry chips. Obviously, those laptops are more capable. But with the MacBook Air, the M1 MacBook Air, you can do about 85 to 90% of what you can do with an M1 Pro or M1 Max. The M2 MacBook Air is slated to be redesigned this year in 2022, and in my opinion, it's going to be more reminiscent of the 12-inch MacBook. This is going to be a smaller device, a smaller enclosure, and it's going to have a more playful vibe, possibly coming in a bunch of different colors. This is something that Apple's going to redesign from the ground up. But if you look at the original MacBook Air compared to the M1 MacBook Air, you look at that tapered design. That's almost an iconic, timeless design. So if you decide to get the M1 MacBook Air right now, that laptop is still going to look current in 5 to 10 years, in my opinion. Because the way that Apple makes their designs, they take their time with it. They're usually made out of aluminum, premium materials. So in terms of the design aging out, I wouldn't worry about getting the M1 MacBook Air, even though there is a redesign slated for 2022. When it comes to the power of the chip, are you going to run into problems getting the M1 MacBook Air when the brand new chip is going to be announced possibly this year? And my answer to you is absolutely not. Even though this is Apple's first iteration at in-house silicon, this chip is so powerful that it's going to be able to handle anything that you throw at it, short of graphic rendering and intensive video editing. But if you're somebody who uses your laptop for email, text editing, basic things like that, if you like to have multiple tabs open, this is the laptop for you. You don't need to go up to the MacBook Pro. The MacBook Air is going to be able to handle, like I said, 85 to 90% of what you need. And lastly, I want to talk about the battery life, because the M1 MacBook Air has some of the best in class battery life. And one of the main reasons for that is because how power efficient the M1 chip is. So when you look at something like an iPhone, right? You buy an iPhone, you keep it for 2 years. That battery is going to degrade, right? So the first day you have it, it lasts all day, you have extra battery life at the end of the day. But in terms of using it over time, you start to notice that all of a sudden you don't get through a full day of battery with the iPhone. With the MacBook Air, you're going to start off with best in class battery life. So even as that laptop ages, even if you lose maybe 20-30% of that battery capacity, you're still going to be able to get all day battery. And that is the key when it comes to buying a laptop that you're going to keep for a long time, right? You don't want to buy a laptop and then a year and a half, 2 years from now, have to replace the battery or not be able to get through a full day with the battery. So the fact that you're going to get best in class battery life with the MacBook Air means that in 2 years, 3 years time, 4 years time, when that battery starts to degrade, you're still going to be able to get a full day use out of that laptop and still be able to do, like I said, 85 to 90% of the things that you want to do. So the M1 MacBook Air, in my opinion, for most people is a no-brainer device. Even if they announce a brand new one right now, as it stands right now, them keeping that base level MacBook Air is a no-brainer, because guess what? You're getting best in class design, awesome battery life. You're getting in-house silicon that's going to be supported for many, many years. This is not like Apple has an Intel chip in this and they're just going to throw it by the wayside. You're going to get support for this laptop for probably the lifetime of this laptop. You're also getting, like I said, that iconic tapered design, something that's really light and portable, all in all, you cannot find a laptop that has this many things going for it out on the market for this price. $1,000 for the entry-level M1 MacBook Air, I think it's a no-brainer. You should get it in 2022 and it's still worth it. With that said, guys, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.